Let's talk about why you should add tomatoes to your diet today. And it's because tomatoes are one of the best sources of an essential nutrient that 92% of Americans are actually deficient in. I'm a family physician with over 20 years of clinical experience. And I welcome you to my channel where we talk about health and nutrition and how to live a better life. So let's dive into this topic. Number 1. Raw tomatoes are really astringent. What does that mean? Lycopene is a really powerful antioxidant. It protects our cells from free radical damage. In fact, if you take 100 grams of cooked tomatoes, they will contain 36 milligrams of lycopene. In fact, if you have a meal of high-fat foods, you can increase your absorption of lycopene by as much as 300%. So adding fat to your tomatoes increases the amount of lycopene that you absorb. Now, oddly enough, you also increase the absorption of lycopene when you cook the tomatoes, so you get more lycopene absorption when the tomatoes are cooked than when they're raw. And I will see you in the next video. Again, probably because the cooking breaks down the cell walls and allows more lycopene to be extracted from the tomatoes. Also, if you add a little bit of salt to your tomatoes, you can increase the absorption of lycopene by as much as 400%. So adding a little bit of salt to your tomatoes can significantly increase the amount of lycopene that you absorb. This is why it's important to season your food with salt. Okay, that's a lot. But if you take 100 grams of cooked beef, you'll get 1 milligram of lycopene. If you want the best sources of potassium, you want to look at avocado and beet tops and even just plain old potatoes with the skin on. Those are the best sources of potassium. But tomatoes are a good source of potassium, which helps regulate your blood pressure. Tomatoes are a really good source of vitamin C. In fact, a medium-sized tomato has about half of the recommended daily intake for vitamin C. Vitamin C is a potent antioxidant. Vitamin C also helps your body build collagen and it helps your body absorb iron. So again, tomatoes are a good source of vitamin C. Tomatoes are also a good source of folate. Folate is really important for pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers. It's really important for the neural tube development of a baby. But it's also really important for everybody to get enough folate because folate helps prevent heart disease and stroke. If you take 100 grams of cooked chicken, you'll get 1 milligram of lycopene. And it's pretty compelling evidence for eating lots of tomatoes. Now, the typical American diet only contains about 1 cup of vegetables per day. 1 cup of vegetables provides about half a cup of lycopene. The recommended amount of lycopene you should consume per day is 2 milligrams. So if you're having 1 cup of tomatoes, you'll get 2 milligrams of lycopene, which is exactly what you need. And that will cover your bases for lycopene. But again, tomatoes are such a wonderful, tasty, inexpensive way to get a lot of nutrients into your body, including the elusive lycopene. If you take 100 grams of cooked pork chop, you'll get less than a milligram of lycopene. Same thing with fish and seafood. If you take 100 grams of cooked fish or seafood, you're going to get less than a milligram of lycopene. So you can see that animal products are very, very low in lycopene, but plants are loaded with it. And tomatoes are one of the highest sources. Watermelon is another really good source. Pink grapefruit is another really good source. But tomatoes are one of the easiest ways to get a lot of lycopene in your diet. Free radicals are highly reactive molecules that are produced by normal metabolic processes in our body. They're produced by breathing oxygen, they're produced by exercising, they're produced by digesting food. All those things produce free radicals. And normally our body has a defense mechanism to protect us from free radicals. But if we're exposed to a lot of environmental toxins, like cigarette smoke, air pollution, pesticides, herbicides, chemicals, plastics, solvents, even dental fillings, amalgam fillings, all those things can overwhelm our body's natural defenses against free radicals. And when there's too many free radicals floating around in your body, that sets off a process called oxidation. And oxidation causes a lot of damage in your cells. It damages your DNA. It damages your proteins, it damages your lipids, it damages your RNA. And so anything that you can do to bolster your antioxidants, your natural antioxidants, is really, really good for your health. That means that if you were to just chow down on a big juicy tomato, you might get some stomach cramping. And some diarrhea because tomatoes contain certain compounds that when they hit your stomach, they cause it to contract really hard and really fast, which can result in cramping and diarrhea. Now, usually cooking the tomatoes neutralizes those compounds so you don't have any issues. But raw tomatoes can be a problem for some people. So just be aware of that. I'm a family physician. Now, lycopene is a carotenoid. And what's a carotenoid? It's a pigment that plants produce. And carrots are also a great source of carotenoids. And vitamin A is really, really important for vision. So if you're eating carrots or sweet potato, you're getting a lot of beta-carotene, which turns into vitamin A and helps your eyes function properly. But there's another carotenoid that's very, very important that you may not have heard of, and that's lycopene. Lycopene is unique among all the carotenoids because it's the only one that gets absorbed in our body and then transported to our blood and lymph and other tissues in its natural form. So it doesn't turn into something else once you absorb it. You absorb it and it goes throughout your body. That's why they're orange. And the pigment gives them their color. Well, carotenoids are really important for plant growth and development. They protect the plants from excess sunlight. But humans and animals who eat the plants get the benefit of these special chemical structures. There's several different types of carotenoids, and they all do slightly different things, but they all have beneficial effects on human beings. Now, there's a couple things that you need to know about tomatoes. The second thing you need to know about tomatoes is that tomatoes are one of the best sources of an essential nutrient called lycopene. Now, the most well-known carotenoid by far is beta-carotene. And beta-carotene is important because it converts to vitamin A in our bodies. So what's important about lycopene? Lycopene has been shown to have anti-cancer properties and it's been shown to reduce inflammation in our bodies. Now, tomatoes are one of the best sources of lycopene on the planet. And if you combine tomatoes with a little bit of fat, maybe some olive oil in a salad dressing or even just a little bit of butter, the absorption of lycopene from the tomatoes goes way up. Tomatoes are also a good source of potassium, although not the best source. I have added several research studies to the description of this video about lycopene and its role in cancer prevention and its role in reducing inflammation in our bodies. Now, kindly subscribe for more of such videos. Thank you for watching.